You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Nah, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need, we can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit. And then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
WESN.
Hello, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, and welcome to Breakthrough. Thank you once again for always choosing us right here on WESN Content Capital. I am your host, and joining me on the Breakthrough table, as per usual, is my co-host, Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean. How are you?
I have finished chewing, as you requested.
You didn't have to say it on the thing. But okay, great. Thank you very much.
Listen, I'm a real person, all right?
Yeah.
I'm
like,
human, yeah?
Yeah, but like...
I just had a show. I was scrambling for breakfast,
And this is Breakthrough, ladies and gentlemen. Trinidad and Tobago, thank you for joining us.
People need to learn to be careful what they say, 2 minutes before the show. Because you never know what can happen, right? Pixel me on the camera. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. But yes, I would like to catch up with you. How was your weekend?
I did nothing. I did less than nothing. I did nothing to the point where there were things that I should have done that I didn't do, which is bad. Laundry is one of them.
Oh, okay. No, laundry day is today for me.
Yeah.
But no, I
just clearly forgot.
Oh, okay. Well, at least you did nothing. I did quite a lot. Actually, one of my very long-time friends, he got ordained as a priest on Saturday.
Oh!
And his first mass was also yesterday, so I had to organize the music for both days. So I'm quite tired.
Also, we do still have local priests being ordained.
Of course. Yeah.
No, we have a shortage though.
Yes, we do.
Like bad.
I know.
Like really bad.
And
that's just one church. I don't know about any other Christianity denomination.
And actually, one of my other priests, he just celebrated 1 year of becoming a priest as well.
Wow.
Yes.
Meanwhile, like the last priest I know that was ordained, he was ordained like a decade ago, and I guess my generation is that far removed, so, because he was kind of late. He took his time.
Oh, you're probably just too cooped up in the West.
I'm too cooped up in the West?
Mm-hmm.
That was it?
Yeah. I just said it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Venture beyond the lighthouse, Sean, so that you will know these things and they are happening.
Just because I venture doesn't mean that I know these things.
No, I'm saying venture outside so that you will know that.
What?
So that you can have the information.
How do I get the information? Just going? I would love to go to get some dim sum in that new place. The new place in the East. Through the gates. Yeah, just say it.
I went. It was really nice. It was really nice.
But there's a pretty good dim sum place in the West. Different brand, different restaurant.
I've not had breakfast yet. I need you to stop talking about food. Thank you very much.
They also do a great
wonton
noodle soup.
Oof.
Like, really good.
Be quiet, please.
I haven't had it yet. Maybe we could go and have it afterwards.
I'm quite broke. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, well, I gave you advice about that, but you know. Ironically, the advice I gave you is counter to the topic at hand.
I know.
In a way.
But we'll kind of get to, not that in particular, but we'll kind of get to some...
The topic at hand?
The flip side of the topic at hand. But the main topic at hand is sort of like bad career advice that people have gotten.
Also, to be fair, our guests that's going to be after the show are like living examples of counter to the topic at hand.
But they're also making interesting waves and they're successful at it.
I guess you could say as best as you could, you're doing it in the right way because, and I could have sworn that we may have talked about this before, but this is something that I feel in 2025, it's this weird juxtaposition where life around the world is getting easier. Then COVID happened and it kind of upset a lot of apple carts. And we have this weird dichotomy where life actually for younger generations is not as easy in a lot of ways as the older generations now, right? But yet at the same time, the younger generation, in some cases, maybe not in Trinidad, but like definitely in certain cities in America, they feel more entitled to an easy life, which it's like ridiculously easy sounding like what they want. And then I think it goes to their mindsets on what is reality, right? Because I guess at some point parents shelter their kids too much. My kids ain't gonna go through what I went through. That's nice, but then your kids don't have a realistic expectation of the world and they think the world is gonna treat them like how the parents treated them the whole time.
Well, that's exactly that, because you think when you grow up used to your parents sort of swooping in at the last minute to sort of fix a lot of things. And it's not that they shouldn't do that, but it's stage and age appropriate, where you kind of have to let the reins go a little bit. And just I'm only saying that just because I know people, and I've seen examples of it where I'm like, oh, okay, they probably didn't get to feel the realities of life.
Because I don't know if you felt this when going through tertiary education, but there were always like parts of me that's like, when people talk about their hopes and dreams, I'm like, I don't know if that sounds very realistic. We live in a small Twin Island nation, and not that you can't be a pioneer, but if you want to be a pioneer, you need to understand it's not about the end destination, the journey, and it could be long and a struggle. And in the performing arts, but in a lot of professions, right? To some extent, but particularly I think as artists, you are going to be a pioneer in your career, because it's just one of those things where it's not like you could go to school and you can apply to some company and you just work a 9 to 5 and you're a successful artist.
Right. Well, the thing is, my experience on the tertiary level was not. It was not. We weren't a class full of, oh my gosh, I'm here because No, a majority of us, actually, I would say all of us were actually, at least when I first started in the certificate, we were very realistic with what this was, because many of us, I remember, I shared this story already, but one of our first classes, the lecturer asked, like, why are you all here? And many of us said varying reasons, but they all kind of went along the vein of like, this is something that I was good at in school, and this is the only thing that I remotely enjoy doing as well, and I think I could take the career going somewhere realistically. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I remember seeing, experiencing this person doing it, or it's always
I saw Lion King on Broadway and I want to be on Broadway.
Exactly. Now granted, Lion King is one of the best Broadway things out there, and movies, in my opinion, the animated movie. But but we were very realistic in how
the live action was.
We were very realistic. We were very realistic in how we just sort of approach it, because we knew this is university level, right? So we know that while it is a performing art that we are doing, there's also the academic side of it. And at the end of the day, at least in my experience in DCFA, there's that training of performing, but there's also that education training, and there's also that research training. So whichever aisle you decide to go in, you're pretty skilled, or even if you decide to do in all three. But no, we weren't like a bunch of hopefuls, just be like, oh my gosh. And even if you were that going into it, like from the first semester, that expectation was broken, and then you make the decision if to continue, or if you want to, what you want to go ahead. But that's the reality of
because
it.
you found this in a couple of sources, right? And there's one guy, there's a Forbes article about it. There's one guy, he has a post on it, and I think he sums up a lot of the key talking points very well. But then also I've seen like high-powered investors, I think one of the guys on Shark Tank or some other venture capitalists basically say that's some of the worst advice you could give someone is to follow their dreams. Because I think out of context, like if you just do that, that is correct, because most people are not prepared to do what it takes to do something like follow your dreams. Because think about it, when you use the term dreamers, you're not thinking, oh, I dream of having a hot dog cart or something that's very practical and attainable and down to it. It's something grand. Well, I wouldn't necessarily glamorous, but it's something grand that's going to take a lot of work. That's potentially, you have to be at like one of the top of whatever field it is. So when you dream to be a heart surgeon because maybe you had a family member that died of heart complications, or a neurosurgeon because maybe you had a family died from a brain injury, or you yourself suffered from something and a very skilled surgeon saved you, and your dream, it's beyond just making money. Now it is, I have a dream on this vocation, on this calling, on this thing, because I'm so passionate about it. So there's a lot that goes into dreams, but then a lot of people don't have that level of motivation, right? Where I want to go to the moon, so I'm going to be, there's famously a Navy SEAL. He became a Navy SEAL. Then he went to medical school and became a doctor while being a Navy SEAL. Then he became an astronaut after being a doctor, after being a Navy SEAL. Those are 3 careers before he was 40, right?
Yeah, so that
not everybody has a level of motivation.
Right. So that comes to a point that I want to make, where you don't really know what you're going to set. What you thought would your dream at 16 will not necessarily be what your dream is at 20. Exactly. So but it comes down to confidence, as you said. It also comes down to who you are at the end of it. I would always say, actually, before I get into that, so some of the things you mentioned, some of the things mentioned on the post was, the post was entitled "Career Advice I Wish I Ignored," right? And one of the things that he said was follow your passion. He said, it sounds nice until rent is due.
Yeah.
Right? Which makes sense, because there are practical realities of life, and at the end of the day, you can dream all you want, but some bills are due. You can't take your dreams to the gas station.
If these really are your dreams, you have to be willing to sacrifice until you make it. How many major Hollywood actors and stars and musicians were like, yes, well, I had to be a waiter, or I had to be a whatever, right? Like, I had to pay the bills until my art was able to pay the bills, which meant I had to do whatever odd job I had to do to get by. And I don't know if one of the issues, I think, because you see stories all the time online, you have artists who want to follow their dreams and they want to do it full time, but they're not actually putting in full-time work. They're just saying they're an artist full time, and they're kind of letting the universe throw opportunities at them, and when the universe is not, because that's not how life always works, not everybody's going to be lucky. They're not looking, they're not putting any time, they're not putting any practice to improve at their craft. They're not doing anything. They are just the struggling artist because they're the struggling artists. Right, and then they go nowhere. And I think a lot of people that kind of don't understand how the world works, like there's a famous story online, right? I haven't necessarily verified it, but I think it's relatively true. I think it was like ABC or some major news outlet. There was a girl that graduated with honors from high school, and she was illiterate.
How is that possible?
I have no idea. How is that possible? Right? But my point is, like, we've reached a point now where there's a lot of things out of whack, and part of the problem is it's even harder now to be successful in certain fields, right? Particularly fields that everyone thinks is easy, everyone thinks is glamorous, and they don't understand, no. A lot of young people might want to go on YouTube and be a streamer on Twitch or whatever, and your grandchildren or your children might be telling you that's what they want to do. What they don't realize is the amount of hours those people have to put in, right? And then the amount of decisions they have to make, because if they say the wrong thing, their whole career could go up in a puff of smoke very fast.
But I feel like once you there's also the flip side. So that sort of concept is kind of hard for me to grasp, only because I've seen people, especially young people, who they've done it and they want to do it and they're willing to put in the work to do it.
Right.
Right. So they are able to do it and go into it, and you sort of learn the realities. And at the end of the day, if you're in it, especially when you start young enough, where circumstances are different, when you're in it, you could change your mind and then
but to some extent, right. But the point is the fact that you have to pivot, the fact that you can't persevere. Sometimes life doesn't work out. You can't pay the bills. You have to move on.
Right.
Sometimes you could keep struggling. And the question is, when are you going to blink in the game of chicken that life has presented to you? Because you never know if the next month, there are stories where it's like, if I just didn't wait and didn't try for one more month or one more audition, that would have been it. It would have been over for me, right? And I would have ended up having to be a used car salesman or insurance broker or a bank employee or something else than whatever that person was doing. And a lot of the times, we're not talking about the commercially successful musician or actor who, you know, the critics kind of look at them and be like, they're right. We're talking about some of like the really critically acclaimed people that do a combination of, yes, commercial work, but also independent films or high concept albums or what have you, or really like pushing the boundaries of whatever field they're in so that their contribution is not just commercial success, but also they help move the art forward, and they made a mark on the world, a mark that's appreciated by the public.
Well, here's the thing, that's the artistic side of it, because there's a certain level of fulfillment for the artist and for the creative, where we have to sort of get into it and sort of make sure that we're seen, make sure that we're visible, which is sort of not counter, but something that you have to consider, especially, I would say, even in the corporate world, because the post was from a corporate person, it wasn't from an artistic person, right? And, you know, one of the worst advice he said that he ignored was, you know, just focus on the work and the rewards will come. I think, yes, focusing on the work is great, because that's the work, that's the job at the end of the day, right? But he said, you know, I did put my all into the work, and then I got ignored, right, during like the promotion season, when it's that time where everybody sort of gets promotion. So even though his like numbers were great, but he stayed behind his desk the entire time, or behind his laptop, whatever the case may be, right? So he said, you know, visibility is important. He said it's more important than the quiet hustle. I think it's circumstantial,
depends on your boss.
Depends on the boss, depends on the circumstance.
I feel that more often than not, because part of it is when you're visible, you're noticed by multiple people. When you're the quiet worker, if your boss is fine with that, that's fine, but you're not going to be noticed by other people. And at some point, you know, your name needs to be recognized by other people besides your boss to go up further.
So when you're not I'm going to say squeaky wheel, if you're not the one visible, if you're not the one that they're hearing, then, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with
because psychologically they don't
attribute
like success to you. You're just a cog.
Because they're like, oh, he's fine. Or, oh, she's fine. She's
there are a lot of stories where people are like, well, I got fired because they wanted to save costs and they didn't know what I did, and they had to hire 3 people to replace me because they didn't understand what they were doing, or they had to triple my salary as a consultant. But here's another example that kind of goes in line with what you're saying. I honestly believe, and this is something that there's no right or wrong about this, it just is. We've reached the point now, and this is going to be somewhat controversial, but women in the workplace who want to be mothers, the problem is not that they want to be mothers. The problem is you're not going to be there. And other people, man or woman, because there are women who are not going to have kids at that time or don't want kids at all, they're going to be present. And at some point for an organization, who do you value? The people that show up or the people that aren't there, no matter how good of a reason, because the work still has to be done. And then if you kind of take that observation and go a step further now, it's like, yes, to some extent, if you're not seen working, right, unless they are really meticulous bosses that do good analysis, and not all bosses are, they're not going to understand your contribution. They might even not reach the point to ask the question on what your contribution is, because they're so caught up in, well, there's the thing with the Dunning-Kruger effect. The loudest person in the room who seems the most confident usually is seen as right. So all of that plays into it, because, we want a guy who's confident and has people skills and whatever, not the quiet introvert. because leadership and blah, 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 blah. When it's like sometimes, no, the quiet guy will be a better leader in this position because he understands the work and could therefore make the right decisions for the work, right? But
it also comes down to, you know, like proper running of your company, proper running of your organization, because if you have a single parent, like you said, I'm not just doing it for women, single parent regardless.
Well, yes, the same thing can happen to men, yes,
right?
very much.
And we're in this space since COVID, we're in this space of we are approaching the 40-hour work week a little bit differently, right? Especially with some companies who can do the mix of the in-person as well as the hybrid, the in-office as well as the hybrid. You see articles of companies just, you know, their sales or their production is up and their returns are up or staying steady, even though they're no longer working the five days a week, right? So there's a little bit of responsibility on the company's part and on the corporate level or the organization's part.
And it's the same thing happens in the wide, like if you're in a band or if you're a solo artist, painter, singer, whatever, that's fine. But if you're part of a larger machine, a dance company, a production company, a movie, like to some extent, this is also applicable here, right? Because very few starts as the star straight out the back. A lot of people have to work their way out. You know, maybe when they were a teenager or in the early 20s, they were a background actor, a supporting actor, work their way to get better roles. Not everybody is a Leo DiCaprio or child actor that makes it as an adult actor.
This is the thing. This is why we need a lot more, I'm going to say representation, a lot more representation in all spheres on the production team, because sometimes production is just production without taking the artist into consideration, and that has its pros and its cons. It has a lot of cons as well. Representation in terms of having people who understand certain situations, and you know, you could sort of work things around that sort of thing, you know. But coming back to the, you know, focusing on the work, one of the other advice that he ignored was someone told him it's okay to work weekends in your 20s. And yes, it is. I feel like I sort of followed this for a while because
I think it's the context of the second part. Yeah,
yes,
but continue.
It's this context of the second part where it's like, it's not a matter of working weekends in your 20s, but it's a matter of taking for granted how much energy you have, how much time you have, and knowing what your limits are in terms of how much you put into your work. So the full post was, it's okay to work weekends in your 20s. And then he said, what turns out burnout doesn't wait till your 30s to show up, right? And that's something that I know very, very well. And it's a bit difficult, not difficult, it's a bit challenging to navigate when you are, especially in the creative field, when you are the everything, especially when you now start off, whether you're an artist on your own, whether you're you know, in charge of productions and projects and stuff like that. It's very difficult because there's the creative side, there's the artistic side, which is what we love. But then there are the extra things, the extra administrative and technical things that scheduling, managing, all of those things that you kind of have to do on your own, right? So it becomes a little bit challenging and then because you're putting your all into that, then you have to be like, then you have to know your limits and know if there's an issue, it's, can I leave this issue until tomorrow? Can I leave this issue 2 days down the road? And take some time for my own self. Because while everyone has, you know, their paid vacation times and when they're employed, gainfully employed, or when they're employed Monday to Friday, or even for teachers, they get like the summers off.
For some teachers, that time off is drying up with, you know, after school work in TNT.
Well, yes.
At least it was at one point.
Well, yeah. I mean, there are people who really, really take it. And they pursue other things within those couple of months, and then they're back into teaching. But when you are the artist, whether visual dancer, singer, musician, any sort of thing, even in the technical field, in the technical theater, technical artistic field, there's a lot that you do. There's a lot that you do on a daily basis because the people that are on vacation during July, August, they want to come and see shows.
Yes, or go to hotels.
Or go to hotels.
Or restaurants.
Exactly.
Yeah. People who don't get holidays off.
Right? So then there's that sort of contrast of the artist's sort of work schedule and their vacation schedule versus other people's work schedules and vacation schedules.
The thing too is that, and the key point is that don't assume that you can't burn out, because that's a common, I understand the sentiment. Work hard when you're young so you don't have to work hard when you're old. I did not do that. Ironically, I am pursuing my passion. It's technically not paying the bills. Anyway. Right?
Not him admitting it.
Well, I mean, TV's rough,
He's
right?
following, not that part,
I'm
the
not a
passion
CEO.
part.
Oh, the passion part, yeah. Well,
Not
I mean,
him
it is what it is,
admitting,
right?
Not him admitting
like,
he's following his passion.
Because
oh my gosh.
to me, it's the ability to, one, yes, there's some amount of creativity in being on a media platform. But then there's also the fact that, look, the conversations that I have, I feel are important, and you don't necessarily get a lot of them out there. Conversations like this are included, not just the serious political ones, right? So I understand that very well, because I had a friend who is a few years younger than me, and I think about a decade ago, so he might have been in his late 20s. He ended up in the hospital working too much,
yeah,
right? And it's just one of those things where, you know, you have to be realistic, right? Because part of the problem is, if this is your dream in your 20s, and this is your passion, and you burn yourself out, not only are you risking your health, but you might lose all love for your passion.
Yes.
Right? And that's that's one of the issues. I don't think it's in the post, but that's one of the issues of taking what you love and trying to make money off of it. Because all of a sudden it becomes a job. And you know what you don't like about having to do a job? You just don't like it, right? That's just does anybody love their job?
You don't like doing the job.
Like, I get it, yes, there are people who like their job and don't want to do other jobs, but at the end of the day, it is a job. So at some point, that responsibility is going to weigh down at you, because you can't just say, it's not your hobby where if you don't feel like doing it, you can't do it. And then, of course, now the other thing is, the whole thing about the rat race now and not getting time off, the psychological, not just the physical toll on your body, but the mental toll on your body. Needing time to rejuvenate, especially the more mentally draining the work is, the more you need time to mentally rejuvenate. Like if you are a high labor job, your body is just going to need time to recover. But if it's a mental job and you don't have a chance for your brain to reset, for you to psychologically get right, then how are you going to perform well, right? If you're in psychological turmoil. If your brain is foggy, forget long COVID, just because you are foggy, because life is happening to you and you can't keep up, right? And at some point you need that rest for your brain, for your personality, for your passion to not just die.
Because on top of the job, you also have to be a human being.
Yeah.
You also have there are human things, and we talk about physical health, but there's also the mental and emotional health that you have to take into consideration. And I mean, if it is that it's a matter of, you know, putting aside that money, not just for your physical doctor's appointments, but for your counseling appointments, for your therapy appointments. Because at the end of the day, and we had Sule Joseph on the show, and he made the point, you know, as creative people, it is our actual job to put ourselves out there and to be vulnerable in front of people that more often than most people have to.
So I do want to get to some points on the article from Forbes. The point I just made actually was on the article on Forbes.
Right.
But one of the things, I guess, that you just said there, that you have to put yourself out there. And it could be in the office, right? For you to do great things, even in a engineering job, in a office job, in a corporate job, or whatever, creative job, you're gonna put something of you out there because you're gonna be creative in some way, whether it's critical thinking for solutions or what have you. If the feedback is bad, right? Or worse yet, if it is objective and true and you are bad, that's really, really hard. And it's one of those things where I find is like, just because you like something doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be good at it. And this is one of the points in it. Doesn't mean that you're going to be good at it. And also, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It doesn't have to come easy for you. Like, I think a lot of times people kind of make the mistake, well, you know, God will open the way and open a path. It's like, I mean, yes, he might, but it might not be as easy as you think it is. It might still be a hard road for you to get there.
Yeah.
And are you willing to go through that? Right?
The only thing is, yes, once there's intention, because I will say there's a lot of things that happened in my life where I made a conscious decision to do it. So when you're early,
because I feel people think, oh, well, because I think God's going to do it for me, it has to be easy. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be easy at all.
That's not true at all. But what I'm saying is, when you first start off, you're trying a lot of things. And in the trying a lot of things, there is success that happens sort of by the way. Success that happens where your work was good, you were recognized. But then there comes a point.
Let me put it another way. You will be promoted to the point where you will start to fail. Whether it's promotion on a job or whether your career advances. Right? So it seems easy until you've reached the point where you can't go any further unless you somehow improve.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, well.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, so some of your success, some of your accomplishments, your good accomplishments sort of happen passively, where you're just like, especially when you're just like, if you are, let's say you are...
Because at lower levels it's easy.
On a ranger or a singer or something like that,
yeah.
right? You're putting in the work, you're focusing on the work, and people are recognizing your work. But then as you get older, there comes a point where you have to make conscious decisions and conscious goals and be intentional with what you want your journey to look like.
Okay, so maybe like you might stumble onto some successes.
Yes.
Not fully understand why it was successful. This happens in the business.
Because the success can't be passive or can't be by the way, or can't just be a byproduct. For your entire career,
when you're young, you have enough time to try different things and something might work.
Exactly.
Right, okay.
So when you get older and you advance in your career, that's why I'm saying, yes, things do it seems easy at first because you're trying everything and everybody is, and you're eager and whatever.
Nobody has expectations and nobody puts you in a box yet.
Exactly. So then when you do sort of develop into it, then it does become a little bit harder because you're still riding that sort of passive wave of I'll just put in my best and it's sort of like letting your work speak for itself, taking that to the very, very extreme.
In music, it would be the one-hit wonders. Why this follow-up album was not successful? Right. Because they couldn't figure out how to build on the past success. In movies, there's a reason why sequels tend to fail a lot of times. Right. Because
and reboots.
And well, that's a whole other. Let's not go there. Let's not go there. We're out of time. We need to take a break to welcome the guests. So, but yes, to build on your success, if you don't know why it was successful, how as an artist are you going to continue without either going too far off course or carbon copying and being very boring? Both ways are avenues to failure.
Yeah. So really quickly, just before we go, I want to ask you what's some of the worst advice you've gotten in life, and what is some of the best advice you've gotten in life?
Okay, so there's a part that says you have to know how to ask for help. I'm bad at that. So I think as a byproduct, I haven't gotten advice. But I guess one of the most interesting advice I've gotten is, I think in two separate cases, because my interests, I don't have a singular passion to follow. That was always my problem.
Right.
So in two separate instances, one was a teacher that never taught me, but I did meet her. She was like, "Ooh, you have a real problem there, right?" And then another person was a family member to an ex-girlfriend of mine. She said, "Well, maybe you probably should be in management, not because of all the glamour and hype, but because it would allow you to touch on various things."
Okay.
So I think management is a very general thing. Management doesn't actually mean the manager.
The manager. Correct.
Right?
I understand that. I understand that.
It can only be the guy that does the work.
Yes.
Right? But not to be pigeonholed in one.
Correct is right. I can't think of any bad advice because I tend to not take usually bad advice. Yeah, I take from. I tend to not take advice from people.
I know.
From people who I tend to not take advice from people who don't matter, who don't have value in my life.
Apparently, I don't matter.
Oh my gosh. But actually, two of the most interesting advice that I got.
Quickly, one at a time.
One person told me, choose your hard. Life is hard.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Just choose your hard.
Yeah.
Choose your problem. And the second thing
because you understand that it's hard off the jump.
Exactly.
That's why it works.
Exactly. So choose, even if you like it, the hard will be worth it. If you don't like it, then you'll lose yourself.
That's
right?
Rough.
And something else somebody told me, do not define yourself by what you do. What you do and who you are, keep them separate. Because if you are no longer able to do what you do, then it will feel like you're falling and you're crumbling within your own identity.
Right.
So try your best to bring who you are into everything that you do. Don't bring what you do into everything that you are. Right?
Okay.
So that's my advice for anybody who wants to take it. I'm passing it on from people. We're going to take a quick break and then we will be back with our guests. Don't go anywhere.
Her voice has mesmerized us for years.
And now, in a rare treat for music fans,
Shakuntala and Friends in concert, featuring Shakuntala Jang Bahadur. Singing sensation Deval Chaitlal, brilliant musician Dr. Shivanan Maharaj, master flautist and saxophonist Narendra Maharaj, with music from Shiv Sangeet Orchestra, Shakuntala and Friends in concert.
Shakuntala.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on WESN and start your wellness journey today.
I am Dr. Delphina Ovid, your friendly neighborhood dentist. At Community Hospital Dental Clinic, we offer examinations which include x-rays, basic oral cancer screening, and a treatment plan. We also offer cleanings, fillings, extractions, root canal treatment, and complete and partial dentures. Remember, you don't have to brush and floss all your teeth, just the ones you want to keep.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
So women who have problems trying to get aroused, women
loss
who
of
have
libido.
loss of libido, and women who have problems actually trying to achieve an orgasm. Something as simple as that. So all of those things tend to happen a little bit further along after the hot flashes and the night sweats, but they are real symptoms. They do exist, and they get pushed under the rug quite a lot. So they are commonly underdiagnosed. They're underreported, they're underdiagnosed, they're undertreated.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
SM Group International Limited, your solutions partner for the latest innovations, brands and competent staff to meet your needs. We provide products and services in the following divisions: executive services, event rental and services, power and heavy equipment, construction and property management, food and beverage, aggregate and sales and distribution. Check out more on our products and services at www.smgrouptt.com. Contact us at 221-7445 or email at info@smgrouptt.com. We are SM Group International, your solutions partner.
As always, we appreciate you starting your day with us. Let's get into this morning's first conversation.
Is the country's healthcare system more at risk more than ever?
Why it has remained unaddressed for so long?
Political parties get lots of cash, big cash from financiers, and then when they get that now, you can't account for it.
But it's really the specialist nurses who we are in a greater shortfall for.
We can tap into the resources and have them, at least form some mentorship programs.
Highlight our food systems, and which will attract persons from all over the world to come and experience something that actually supports the local economy.
We're lucky that we have a vibrant legal system that allows change to take place, and it's not that matters are just swept under the carpet and discrimination is allowed to be perpetrated. A lot of people don't know that there were attempts to ban the carnival, suppress the carnival.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity, from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
I'll do it. No problem. And joining us, of course, we have some familiar friends, and they have an event upcoming this Friday, 30th of May, Get Thrashed 3. We're speaking about Clavium, joined by acts such as the Supernormal Band, Cypher, and Feed the Sun. This is at the Arts Center in San Fernando, 97 Circular Road, San Fernando, Trinidad and Tobago. It's a free drinks party, right? And I mean, this looks like a pretty heavy lineup there with multiple bands, free drinks, different price outlets, and of course, the guys who they are going against the current, despite all the advice we gave in the last segment, they're kind of the exception to all of that. Because not only are they following their dream, but they've managed and successfully managed to pull it off, doing it full time. I'm speaking, of course, to the two-man metal band, Clavium.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you all today?
Good morning, Mark.
So I could imagine how tired you must be, just because producing a show is not easy. Performing in a show is not easy. Doing the both is by far one of the most challenging and hardest things for it. What has the experience been like for you all? And this is not the first event you all have produced, but this is like we're taking it further, we're taking it up a notch. How has that been for you all?
Well, so far it's been smooth sailing in the beginning, and then, a lot of learning experiences. Mm-hmm. But as time drawing closer to the event, everything is really coming together. Mm-hmm. Kind of better than we expected. And yeah, it's a lot of new learning. Every event always have little differences in it that needs working out. Mm-hmm. And that is just how life is be sometimes.
Well, that's interesting that you brought that up, because you always have to learn from the last one. What are some of the things that you'll learn from the last one that you're trying to make sure that either doesn't happen again or improves on, or make sure that this happens this time around?
Well, change in venue, this is one big factor here. The way on the timing of the event as well, because it's Indian Arrival Day in Trinidad. The venue we chose is the Creative Arts Center in San Fernando.
Right.
So that is culturally relevant to everything that's going on. They do a lot of local stuff there with arts and anything with creativity, from paintings to dance and drama.
Okay.
And this is the first time they're having a metal event in that venue.
Nice.
So yeah.
Now, one of the things that I noticed in the performing arts in TNT is that, generally speaking, there's periods of growth and then it shrinks again, and with each generation in the various genres, it's almost like somebody has to take the lead, and hopefully when they take the lead, everybody else grows. But somebody kind of has to be the person to kind of say, hey, this is how you do it. Mm-hmm. This is how you put on a show. This is how you market yourself. This is how you be professional. This is how you practice. This is how you put together a set list, whatever. Like, now, this is your show. I'm not in tune with the rock scene. I remember in years gone by, some of our people in the office, they used to go to the shows in Anchorage and so on and so on, and I don't think anything like that is happening, at least in that part of the country, like how it used to again. Like, do you find yourselves in that position where you all had to forge a path and potentially other people could hopefully learn and follow so that the industry grows? Because to some extent, people can underestimate, if the industry grows, well, then everybody gets there's a bigger pie to split around, you know?
Gets a little bit of a pie.
Yeah, well, when we now started, it had a handful of bands that we were aware of at the time, and most of them don't exist today, right? So that is probably a major part to play in why it don't have the events like it had before now. And what we did, we focused more on our original music, whereas other bands would focus on cover music.
Right.
And we believe in ourselves. We believe in ourselves. It doesn't matter what anyone says. I think believing in yourself is one of the most important things as an artist and musician to go forward. And while you're looking at the other bands internationally that you would look up to in how you would like your music to be, you kind of realize, hey, that is not me trying to be an ex-person. You just be yourself. Don't try to sing like another singer. Sing like how you should sound. Obviously, you mightn't get it at first because my vocals change over time. I was more of a death metal singer. But when I pick up the guitar and try to sing, it's come out like more high-pitched, screamy kind of vibes. And from there, we just kind of roll with it and build the music around that. Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned, as just coming off of that point, what are some of the, so I'm guessing, so with every main genre, there are obviously subgenres, right? What are some of the subgenres in it, and how do they differ from each other?
Yeah, because not everybody would understand what you mean by death metal.
Yeah. So death
it's
metal,
not that bad, folks.
Well, the death metal is more a deeper growling sound of your voice, right? There are some bands that do that and incorporate clean singing, right? Which is good, but it's not really my kind of vibes. But a lot of people like that style of music, and we have Cypher that's performing in the event. They have that kind of vibes, some clean singing, and they have a female vocalist, which is really good and really something rare in the local scene here.
Right.
Right.
Is it rare abroad too? Because I know when Linkin Park got their female vocalist, that alone was just slightly controversial.
Right. Well, it's more prevalent abroad, but it's still rare because metal music and even rock music is more male-dominated type of music from back then to now, but it's slowly changing with the time. And I think it's something very good, and more females should be involved and come out and believe in yourself. Have that confidence to take the stage and be you.
Well, belief in yourself. We just had a segment where we spoke about be careful about following your dreams if you're not committed to it, if you don't have that faith. Now, I believe you all got to a new threshold in your career. Now you all have an external management team. Like, the journey to get from the start to now? Because you said a lot of people who existed when you all started, they no longer exist, and I guess you all are kind of trying to forge. It's this part of your journey now that's the no man's land, right? Because you all are the guys out in front now. You all have no one to follow locally, right? And I guess to some extent, you all are on a cover band. You all got a management team. You all got signed. You all are putting on this show. So to get from there to there, like, I guess this might oversimplify. How hard was it? You know? So that people understand the kind of work you all put into this.
Yeah. Well, we have been trying since we started in 2006, and all that to now is a lot of years. We didn't have the contacts at the time, so you keep searching for it. You put in the work, you put in the time and effort, and research, reach out to people, and finally we found a company, an international company that want to work with us. They like the sound, they like where we come from. It's something different, it's something unique, and it's just two of us performing in the band, so it's even rare.
Yeah,
it's a rare thing. It's a standout kind of scenario.
A two-man metal band is very, very, very sort of,
But
you don't see that all of the time.
A two-man metal band of two East Indian brothers from the Caribbean. It's like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people in New York would not have put this together.
Probably. So what my question is though, as I said, I know the sort of the experience of performing and also producing. I know the whole thing of having a production meeting before rehearsal starts and having a production meeting after the rehearsal ends, right? But you still have to rehearse because that is the product, that is what people are coming to see. How has that experience been in terms of just sort of balancing the two? How's it been?
Well, on a normal day, we try to practice as much as we could, maybe 4 times a week, because we live together. So practice and preparing for the show, we make time. We don't make it a problem. Anything clavier, we don't make a problem. It have to get done. So we get it done.
Okay.
It could be, it does be tiring at times, sometimes exhausting, but you push through that because as a human being, you could take real pressure.
But not too much, depending on what you're doing and who you are.
I guess when you're committed, when you're committed to something,
you're willing to put in the work.
And it's yours, right? You all aren't doing.
You look at everything more as a challenge than an obstacle.
Yeah.
So that way, you look for opportunities to get across that instead of being like, "Wait, I'm real tired, I'll stop now."
Because I'm sure there've been milestones where once you hit it, it's like, yeah, we did that.
Yeah, and that is the outcome, that is the boost you want. But before, it will have ups and downs, but that's why you have like good supporting family and friends and the fans that when you're not feeling 100, they give you the extra that you need to carry it.
The interesting thing is when you're producing your own shows, there's a lot of decisions that has to be made. But there are two of you. Who's the tiebreaker in case there's like one has one interpretation of the idea and the other one wants to go a direction?
We argue about stuff and everything, but at the end of the day, whatever is best for Clavium, we always find that point.
Figure it out.
Yeah, together.
Okay. Right.
And only him and I have like the final say about Clavium, so we will have to find a solution regardless.
Find some way to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because there's that added thing of, yes, there's two of you all making the decision, but then there's also the aspect of you're also family.
Yeah.
So how do you sort of, do you consciously sort of make that separation?
Yeah, because working with family is usually advised, don't do it.
Yeah, it is.
And y'all are doing a creative endeavor while being family. It's like, you're just adding difficulty to this, You're like, we'll accept the challenge of life. Let's go.
So how does that, because I mean, there's only being two of you, but then there's the pro of it's only two of you, so you don't have the extra voices.
That's true.
As opposed to like, if it was like the Patrick
when the two of you all have a conversation, you'll have to worry about the other members in the band,
Just worry about each other. Like, how does that?
I would say it depends. It depends on this, I guess, the circumstances at the time, but generally, we find some sort of common ground that we could work with. We don't forget the goal.
Yeah.
We know what the goal is. It could take many steps to attain the goal, but we try to do it in the best way that could suit everybody, not just ourselves, but everybody else in our family and whoever involved at the time and our team members. Because now we have an added team member, which is our new manager.
Yes.
And his name is Colin Parks. And he is also a touring musician. Just last week he finished a tour throughout the UK.
Right.
And that was successful, and he is now part of our team. And yeah, so decisions kind of
that experience as well.
Yeah.
So that's good that you have somebody, and this is the point I made, like when in production and in management, it's good to have somebody who understands the ins and outs of the performing life as well. Because if you're just a manager, then there's that danger of the manager just treating you like a dog and pony. You should just be like dance or sing or do whatever without actually
just do the thing.
Just do the thing, as opposed to like fully understanding. No, this rehearsal and performing takes a lot of work. So even for in situations that I've been, after rehearsal, I don't want to talk. I don't want to make any decisions. I just want to go home, eat, and go to sleep. And sometimes sleep cures a lot of things. You know, it clears the mind. What I want to do, I want to just sort of, can we back up the image really quickly? First of all, I love the design of this. This is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I rattled off a whole set of cultural things associated with metal, and pirates was not one of them. And I was like, how did I miss that?
Shame on you.
How?
But no, this is really great. Who designs your flyers?
Right, so our marketing person, which is Elissa Marie Singh.
Shout out.
Shout out. And huge props for the design. The ship is a pirate ship, but it's also Indian Arrival time.
Right,
so, you know, the people came here on a
thought of the Demeter. So if you understand that reference, I'll leave people to understand that reference. There was a recent movie, right? Yeah. So, but I wanted to ask, y'all are producing your own show, but it's not just, you know, y'all have a show and it's two of y'all and that's it. Yeah. And then you all rehearse, and as much as you rehearse, the show is rehearsed. There are 3 other bands. Yeah. What is it like now producing a show with 3 other acts that technically y'all might not directly manage them, you know, all the fine details of what they do, but it's still your show, and you still have to kind of like oversee what's going on for the benefit of your show. What's that like?
Well, the bands, you just really get plenty problems with bands. So bands seem to be ready for the gig.
Right.
Everybody.
You don't get problems.
No.
Yeah.
So when you're working with a lot of bands throughout the years, it always have everybody to like everybody, this and that.
Right.
But the show is the most important thing. Everybody understand that. So everybody put the best foot forward to the show.
Right.
To make it work. If you have something you could borrow, you could lend, this kind of thing. I have this link, we could use that. So everybody try to make it easier.
Right. So as much as they're rivals, and at times competition, like once we have a show and we marketed this thing, everybody's on it, it's like, forget about that, because if the other guy fails, we kind of all fail, because we're all part of this one show.
There are circumstances where there is competition, but there are circumstances where there's collaboration, and that's what makes it that's what makes the industry grow. What can you tell the people to expect, people who are interested in coming? What can they expect with y'all, as well as these 3 other bands and this entire sort of collaborative sort of meeting, sort of community concert that y'all are putting on?
Expect a lot of adrenaline from every band. Each band would be performing probably, I would say, maybe their best set for that night, and everybody coming out to perform at their best. For us, I would say it is a very emotional experience, because we recently signed, and we still taking in all that, and when it really hits, it's a little different. We had to up the game a little bit. But yeah, a stellar performance, free drinks. It is a big party. come out and celebrate.
Yes.
Enjoy it.
And just to highlight, there's a price for alcohol. Free drinks with alcohol is a slightly cheaper price if you don't want alcohol. Yeah. So, and again, you're not just paying for your drinks. This is not a free drinks party where you're paying for your drinks. You're also technically paying for a concert on top of that. And that's where you're going to get the value in the money. So don't mistake that it's one or the other. It's technically both. So keep that in mind.
So what you could do, Trinidad and Tobago, you all can follow them on their social media. You can find them on Instagram at Clavium, all right, KLAVIUM. I just sort of keep updated with everything they're doing. They're taking their passion, putting in the work, making the commitments, and making it happen. All right, and that's what the industry needs. That's what we need to be realistic about when it comes to putting on these types of things. All right, that's what it takes, because producing a show is one thing, performing in the show is another thing. Doing the two together, absolutely, it can be challenging, but it becomes absolutely worth it when you're in that experience, and it's an amazing. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was great. Let's just put up the flyer one more time, just as we head out, so that everybody can see it. You did so well at describing what it was, at what's over there. So go ahead with all of the adrenaline that you have.
All of the adrenaline. Gosh,
It's right on this.
I'm so not ready. No, there was a whole other readout that they had. But folks, yes, 97C Circular Road, San Fernando, the Creative Arts Center. It's a proper theater, as far as I understand. Free drinks, $250 for alcohol, $200 non-alcoholic, this Friday, the 30th of May, 2025. And I know there are a lot of heavy metal fans out there in TNT. I know quite a few of them in the West, who hopefully, I'm trying to figure out exactly how do I push this out there. Because this is just one of those things where if it was something that was up my alley, and I missed out on it, I'll be kind of very sad. And to some extent, too, something like this, any sort of live performance, I've never seen a heavy metal concert before. I've seen some of your stuff on video, and trust me, folks, these two peaceful, humble guys there, they are not this restrained on stage. They are not this restrained on stage, as it should be when it's metal. Oh my God.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could be hype man. Yeah.
That's what you are. Tall boy and hype man everywhere you go.
Tall boy? I'm not that tall.
Towel.
Towel.
Boy. Oh, yes, towel boy. Gentlemen,
you see, I'm just punching bag on Breakthrough. That's what that is.
That's okay. That's your purpose. All right, but gentlemen, thank you again for coming on. Be sure to check out all of their social media and stay up to date with all of the events. Thank you so much for tuning in to Breakthrough right here on WESN Content Capital. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, Sean Michael Small.
Punching bag, towel boy. Yep. Quality above.
It'd be like that. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. San Juan man fatally shot. Police investigate. PNM praises Beckles Senate picks as a blend of youth and experience. Deportees back in TNT hope to rebuild their lives, and internationally, U.S. Judge